Good afternoon, I'm Jeff. I'm a Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 780 Briarcliff Lane here in Lake Oswego. We're located at the front of the home. We're just off to the right of the front doorway. It's right next to the water shutoff, this concrete plate here. We have a 4-inch cast iron cleanout as our point of access. I'm going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Currently have water running. Here we go. Okay, right here about 2 feet in, they're kind of hard to see, but off to the left side of the screen there, those are roots that have penetrated the line. They've been kind of gunked up with debris. At this point, they're not huge roots and not affecting the flow in a huge way, but they will likely turn into a big root ball and block up the line. So I would recommend getting that repaired. And I'll do my best to locate it. That might be smack dab under a shrub here. We have 1 or 2 rags that have caught up in the line right here in the flow line. I would also recommend a hydrojet or some kind of drain cleaning method to remove those. A line transitions here to concrete pipe. We again have another washcloth that is hung up in the line here. Definitely do not want to put those down the line. It looks like it just transitioned here to straight to 4-inch pipe. We'll have a better look when it's drained out, maybe 6-inch. And here at about 83 feet out, this appears to be the terminus of the line. I'm going to do locates to verify we're in the street, and then we'll let the line drain out completely to make sure that the water is not concealing any issues. I did locate the camera head successfully at the main lateral out on Briarcliff. The line kind of runs over towards the left side of the property and terminates about straight out from the mailbox for this home on the other, kind of the far side of the street. Well, I've had the sink inside there turned off for 2 or 3 minutes now, which is usually enough time. It looks like there may be still a little trickling off. This is kind of a tricky spot here. You know, it looks like there's almost like there's two pipe joints here back to back. Now that I'm looking at it closer, we may actually have a crack here. You can see that the furthest circular joint there is exactly that. It's circular in shape. This one closest to us is looking a little oblong there, which is usually not indicative of how a pipe joint is put together. It's a really hard one to tell because it's a perfectly seamed piece of pipe there. It almost looks like they may have a joint that looks that way. That's a really hard one to discern. This is an old enough line here. I don't know if that's something that they would do back in that day. Cut the concrete at an angle like that and fit it together. Almost the shape of like the bottom of a straw. Kind of have that slant angle to it. That is a tough one to tell there. I would recommend showing that to a repair contractor and see what they think of that. That's a very difficult one to see there. The shape of it is so uniform, it almost looks like it was purposely cut that way and fit together. It's just normally they're a perfectly circle joint and not kind of oblong that way. So I would show that to somebody. I'll locate this real quick here and mark it in the event that does look like an actual crack. Normally it's a lot more jagged than that and obvious. This one is just it looks like a perfectly seamed joint there. It's just the shape of that is kind of odd. I'm having a little difficulty locating this particular spot here. I think we're down. I'm picking up a fairly good locate signal. The depth is coming in all over the place though. I'm picking a signal up right at the bottom of the driveway, about 2 feet or so to the right of the mailbox. You know, right where the driveway skirt basically meets the bark dust adjacent to the mailbox down there. You know, if you're going to do any digging to repair that, actually I would look into doing a pipe liner, as it is under concrete, and it looks like it's very deep. My locator's bouncing around though between 10 and 14 feet. And our water still is not shut off. The house, everything's turned off. The house is locked up at this point. So we either have a leaky toilet flapper. What we have here is a breach in the transition joint. You can see right here how we essentially have, there's mostly just a little water. My camera's dragging back. Cast iron pipe here is dry. Once you get to the transition joint here, you can see that we have running water again. So what's happened is the transition joint has separated and is allowing groundwater to flow into the line here. I'm going to do my best here to locate this particular spot. Again, both of these, if that is indeed a crack there, it's so close to this spot, I would honestly just do a pipe liner on it rather than to dig up the concrete. It'd be much easier and much cheaper. And that generally will seal those joints off. The liners are very, very strong epoxy. So I'm picking up the camera head here in a slightly different spot than where I located right here, which is a good sign. The signal's moving around. That's what I want to see. Sometimes utilities, which there is right next to this spot here, can throw off the locator. So anyway, I still do recommend having locates performed to get a proper depth, but this does appear to be where I was mentioning earlier, just to the right of the mailbox at the bottom of the driveway. I've marked a white X there. That X serves as a marking for both this joint as well as this. They're only a foot apart here. So in this circumstance, your best option, usually digging that thing up is going to be, especially if it is in fact 10, 12 feet deep under concrete, the cost is going to be far greater than if you were to do a liner on it. So I would look into doing a trenchless repair on that, but I do recommend a repair to correct that. That can cause some really serious erosion issues. You've got an opening there for dirt from outside the line to flow into the pipe through. It can cause a lot of hydro erosion, where the roadway can lose support out from underneath it as well as the pipe, and it will continue to settle and get worse and worse. I've seen those where those settle to the point where the two pieces of pipe become completely offset from each other. Once again, I wanted to mention we do have 2 washcloths in the line, so I recommend the line be jetted to remove that. Those are, and it looks like we have probably another one right here as well that's just gunked up with grease. A lot of times those accidentally get thrown down the line, but in cast iron pipe and concrete they will snag up real easily. The pipe is rough on the inside. You know, those will likely be there forever if you don't. hydrojet them out of there. This little lump here in the pipe appears to be debris buildup there, or possibly a little piece of a rag or something that's caught. I don't see any root hairs or anything like that protruding from it, so that doesn't appear to be anything more than just debris buildup. And there is a bit of you can see the flow line there and up the sidewalls. It does have a bit of scale buildup, so you put enough grease and stuff down the line for 50, 60 years, you'll get some buildup. Now, this piece here that's in the line, I'm not entirely sure what that is. You know, in a situation like this where we have enough junk scale coating the inside of the pipe, I recommend that after the hydrojet is done, make sure you have the drain clean guys run a camera back through to make sure that nothing becomes uncovered by that. You can get enough, you know, in a situation like this, you can get enough stuff that's gunked up on the sidewalls that it can cover issues up. I think my camera has kind of dislodged whatever was over here. It's still hung up at the joint. That's now, you know, this is a tough one to tell. It looks like we've got a combination of hair and possibly string in here. That almost looks like braided cotton. Tampons look like that. Sorry to get nice and descriptive on you, but they're a very common item that hang up. And this is kind of a tough one here. I think my camera may actually separate that thing away from the line. But this is close enough to the bushes that a root intrusion would not surprise me. This is right here next to the clean out by some bushes. It looked a lot more like roots on the way out there before my camera kind of busted everything up. Yeah, and some of those strands there on the sidewalls are still looking like we've got root strands coming through. But you can see all the scale on the sidewalls there. It kind of covers everything up and makes it hard to see. But on the left side there, you've got 4 or 5 strands headed straight down the pipe there on the sidewall. I would highly doubt that you've got that many tampon strings hanging up in that particular spot there. So that does appear to be roots. I think my camera's just kind of broken them up a little bit. I'm going to locate this. It's going to be right by the clean out. I'll mark it with a white X. Here, I do have this marked. I'll show the marking here once I pull the camera out. Mark the big white X. We're at 2 feet 8 inches deep. Not a terribly deep line to get down to right here. I'm just about to reel the camera out. I do recommend a correction here to fix the roots. I know it says 3 feet out. I had to move the camera reel. It's about 2 feet in where the root intrusion is at. I also recommend fixing the pipe joint as well as the possible crack. I mean, at this point, there's really no reason to guess on it, on that possible crack down there. It's right next to the transition joint, so you might as well just make that liner about 2 or 3 feet long and cover up that joint as well. The cost should be exactly the same, so that's kind of ideal that you've got 2 issues there. One is for sure, one is kind of on the fence. But we do have a breach in the line down there, letting a lot of water flow through the pipe. It looks like you have a kitchen sink or a shower running. It's that amount of water coming through. So that's at 54 feet, possible crack at 55. We have rags that need to be jetted out of the line and a root intrusion at 2 feet to get repaired as well. And again, that's right here, right next to the clean out here. So, and then the other issue, I don't know if the camera will even pick it up. There's a white spot right next to the mailbox I'm showing there. That's right where I'm locating that breach in the line where the water's coming through. Aside from that, the rest of the line appears to be in good shape with good flow and functioning at this time. And the line at this point right now, there's not a significant blockage or anything in there. Those rags could hang stuff up, but it is currently functioning. It's not functioning properly as we have some stuff impeding the flow line, but all cleaned out. Once this stuff's taken care of, it'd be a nicely functioning sewer line.